All right, so if you had any doubts about the Spurs early on in the season when they got off to this really hot start, I think it is time to put those doubts to rest. This team is legitimate out in the Western Conference, and they are flat out holding it down in the absence of their best player in Victor Wembanyama. Without Wemby, they are 8-3, and they have done it with a pretty tough schedule. They've won games against teams like the Magic and the Cavaliers and the Timberwolves and the Nuggets and also the Hawks. That is very, very impressive and refreshing to see for a team that I don't really know what our expectations were coming into the season. Like, we knew that they had Victor Wembanyama and Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper. It was this mesh of really talented players, but I didn't think it screamed deep playoff run, right? Like, I thought they were going to be good, but not amazing. But what they've done so far has been very impressive, being able to keep themselves afloat in the absence of Wemby. And seeing their other options on offense like De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, who just came back last night against the Pelicans, Dylan Harper, their rookie, Keldon Johnson, and also Luke Kornet. Seeing those guys play well and keep things afloat without Wemby is a very, very promising sign and just shows how many great options they have around them. It all means that their supporting cast is legit, and what is key to making a deep playoff run in the West, especially having a very, very strong supporting cast. Starting with De'Aaron Fox, he has been great this season for San Antonio, putting up 24 points on 48% shooting from the floor, and he's knocking down a career best 37.9% of his looks from downtown, along with 6.5 assists. A lot of people were pretty torn on what Fox's role on this team was going to be, with him having to coexist with Dylan Harper and them trying to figure that out. But he's been making it work, right? He's done a good job at balancing out the scoring and the playmaking and alternating both on and off the basketball. And that has allowed him to stay effective and lead this team to solidity on the offensive end in the absence of Wemby. And per usual with De'Aaron Fox, he has been very, very clutch. There was a game just last week against the Grizzlies where he scored the last 11 points for the Spurs to help seal the win. And overall, San Antonio has been very good in the clutch with an 11-3 clutch record. Now, what that means is games that were within 5 points in the last 5 minutes. So the Spurs have been very good in those situations, which again is a strong indicator of them being a team that can make a lot happen in the playoffs out west. So De'Aaron Fox has done what De'Aaron Fox has always done, and that is being a really good offensive orchestrator, playmaking and shot making at a high level, and also playing big time in clutch scenarios, which, as I said, is huge for the Spurs as they're trying to make a lot happen out west this season. When you are a team that's trying to exit a rebuild and go right into playoff contention, the most important thing is having at least one veteran shot creator that can bridge that gap. We are seeing that here with the Spurs. That is why they invested in De'Aaron Fox, extending him this offseason. Again, a lot of people were confused about the fit with him and Dylan Harper, but we're seeing right now why he's so important to this group, and also that him and Harper and also Castle can coexist at a high level. Speaking of Harper, obviously you have to give him a ton of credit. He has done a good job at coming in here and playing his role to the best of his abilities, putting up nearly 14 points on 47.9% shooting from the floor with 3.9 assists. It is not easy being a rookie point guard in the NBA. What's also not easy is being a rookie point guard playing alongside with other really good guards on the floor at the exact same time. There is a lot to navigate. There's a lot to figure out. And Harper early on here has done a great job at figuring it out here for the Spurs. And that is why he has been such a high level contributor when he's been out there on the court. Now, Harper has not been as consistent as other rookies like Kornet and Cooper Flagg, but he has shown off some amazing flashes. And to be fair, his situation is very unique compared to a Kornet and a Flagg. As I said, he is trying to navigate playing alongside with two other really good perimeter players like Castle and Fox. That is not easy for a rookie point guard, but he has made it a pretty good fit early on and is providing a ton of value here to the Spurs. Now, another guy that we have to talk about is Luke Kornet. So the biggest thing for the Spurs with losing Victor Wembanyama, obviously you're losing his offense. He is a really good shooter, great mid-range player. This is a 20-plus point per game guy in his third year. So you lose what he does on the scoring end, but also obviously as a 7'5" guy, you lose what he does as a defender. Last year we saw it. They suffered in a massive way defensively when he was gone, especially with their paint defense. This year, Luke Kornet has done a great job at holding down their defense in the paint in the absence of Wemby. In this stretch without Victor Wembanyama, he has literally been one of the best, if not the best, rim protector in the entire league. That is the definition of a return on investment. The Spurs got him in the offseason from Boston, and he has done a really really, really good job at showing value off on the defensive end, keeping this team afloat on that side of the floor, which has been huge to them staying solid early on here. Now, he's not as good of a defender as Wemby, right? Wembanyama is one of the best defenders in the entire league and is a DPOY candidate when healthy. But again, he has done a great job at holding things down on the end of the floor, and that has been massive for the Spurs, staying solid here as a top 5 team in the West in the absence of their best player. So the biggest takeaway from all of this is that the Spurs have options on both ends without Wembanyama. This is not a team that has to play through Victor Wembanyama in order to be effective, which is important. If you want to contend for something, if you want to make a deep playoff run, you have to have multiple attack points on both ends, and that is what we're seeing here with the Spurs with the play of guys like Fox, Harper, Kornet, and others. Now, this team is not perfect, right? They do tend to get off to good starts and give it up in the third quarter. That has been a massive weakness of them, and they do end up finding their way in the clutch. As I said, they're one of the best clutch teams across the entire league, but still, playing strong through 4 quarters is going to be huge when it comes to making something meaningful happen in the playoffs. But nonetheless, the strengths are all there. They've done a good job in other places, and that is why they've gotten off to this good start and stayed solid without Wembanyama. Big fan of this team, and they're looking like a squad that could become the next Western Conference powerhouse sometime in the very near future.